Welcome into HQ Spotlight. I'm Tiffany Blackman. But more importantly, our Super Bowl matchup is set. The NFC champs, Seattle Seahawks, and the AFC champs, New England Patriots, will go at it. And that Pats team is where we start. Not only did they face the Broncos, but they also took on different climates as the game went on. A blizzard set in. And that lone Patriots TD, a 6-yard keeper by quarterback Drake Maye, helped to send the Patriots to the Super Bowl. Here's Coach Mike Vrabel on how else they got it done.
You have to believe things sometimes before you can see them. And you have to believe that what you're doing is the right thing. And if it's not, you have to recognize it and make adjustments and changes to the program and everything else. And, you know, we got a great group of guys, and they continue to, again, believe in the things that we did, and they formed and created an identity, and they try to protect it. And then today was just another example of, as things kind of change and unfold, our ability to adjust. And, you know, Josh and Zach and Jeremy did a great job leading their units, and the players executed when they had to. And I know that there's going to be a lot of questions about this and that and the other thing, and, you know, we did enough to win the football game in tough conditions.
Yeah, tough conditions, I feel like, is an understatement, but pretty cool. Vrabel now taking his former team to the Super Bowl in his first year as a head coach, and we've got Prisco alongside me and Damien Harris, here holding it down to help us break down the 4 reasons why the Patriots can win Super Bowl 60. So Drake Maye will become the second youngest starting QB to reach the Super Bowl. Damien, how did his play help put him in this position?
Well, it's because he plays winning football. I mean, we did a segment just not too long ago where Rand Carthen sat up here and talked about Drake Maye just plays winning football. And what does that look like? It's not always going to look like 300 passing yards. It's not always going to look like 4 passing touchdowns. Sometimes it's going to be the lone touchdown in the game, which is on a quarterback keep, which is off of a turnover, and just finding ways to win. That's what Drake Maye does best. He doesn't put the football in harm's way in terms of turning the football over, throwing it to the secondary. He plays really smart. When the offensive line protects him, he just doesn't turn the ball over, and he makes the plays that equate to winning. And sometimes that's eating a sack and taking a 6-yard loss and then allowing your special teams unit to go out and punt and then put your defense in good field position and then allow them to do their job to get the ball back. But the leadership of Drake Maye, the belief like Mike Vrabel has talked about, I think that that's been more important than his play, than any play of anybody of the New England Patriots. It starts with, like he said, creating that identity, trying to protect it. They decided a long time ago they wanted to be a hard-nosed, tough, physical football team that plays the game the right way and executes in gotta-have-it situations in a football game. And they've showed that time and time again. They showed it in Denver yesterday, and that's why this team, led by Drake Maye, is going to the Super Bowl.
He's 23 years old, and one play defines who he is as a quarterback. The final play of that game, well, not the final play because they took knees, but before they took the knees, they needed to get a first down. The play was called as a run play, and didn't tell anybody, didn't tell his coaches, didn't tell the players in the huddle. He pulled it and kept it and ran it for a first down. That tells you all you need to know about Drake Maye as a quarterback. As 23-year-old, really not running the play that's called and pulling it without telling his teammates, that speaks volumes about him as a player. But more than that, you know, he hasn't played that well in the playoffs, but like Damien said, like Rand said, he finds a way to get it done in the big moments. That's the most important thing about him.
Yeah, it is, and you can only imagine maybe what that's going to do for him in the future, even beyond the Super Bowl. Let's talk about the secondary, because Christian Gonzalez came up big for this Patriots team with that interception that helped to seal the deal. And I know there were some plays early on that maybe were some cause for concern, but look, he was able to flip the script and help them get to this championship game. How has his play then overall and the play of that group helped to put the Patriots in this spot, Damien?
Well, the secondary, when you know you've got guys on the outside that can erase half a field, Carlton Davis on one side, Christian Gonzalez on the other side, when you know whether it's man, whether it's zone, they're going to take care of their responsibilities on their side of the field. Guess what it does? It allows you to rush, which the Patriots do so well. The interior, Milton Williams, Christian Barmore, they wreak havoc on the interior part of the pocket, which we saw yesterday against Denver. Kayvon Chase and Anthony Jennings on the outside, they're not the elite pass rushers of the National Football League, but when you got guys in the secondary that cover as well as they do and have quarterbacks afraid to throw with those guys, they sit there and they hold the ball for a tick or two longer. The next thing you know, these guys who aren't labeled as the premier pass rushers, they just work their tails off until eventually the production gets home. Whether it's speed to power, power to speed, these guys are relentless in their pursuit of the quarterback. And I think it starts with that blanket that they have in the secondary, led by Christian Gonzalez. It's not the game-winning plays. I mean, obviously everybody wants to talk about that seals the victory, but it's just the fact that guys like Jarrett Stidham, which I know that was his first taste of action in a long time, but other very experienced quarterbacks, they don't like throwing at Christian Gonzalez. They don't like throwing at the side of Carlton Davis, and that just, like I said, it slows down the processing time for the quarterback and allows that rush to get home.
One of the things they did yesterday is kind of change some of the things they normally do. This is not a team that likes to blitz that much, and they really haven't played, despite the fact they have good corners that can do it, a ton of man that you would expect them to do so. They did early in the year. Remember against Buffalo, they went up there, they manned up, and they beat them. They stopped the passing game. Well, they didn't think that the Broncos receivers could beat those corners. Now, he got beat on the one play by Mims down the field, but after that, they were all over them. And like Damien said, it allowed the pressure to get there, it allowed the blitzes to get there. They influenced the quarterback. And I think when you look at that secondary across the board with those corners, the way they play, they can match up. Marcus Jones can match up as well, although he's the guy I would attack more than anybody. But across the board, that's a group that gives you flexibility on the back end.
Shifting gears to go back to Vrabel, because we touched on him earlier, and I got to cover the AFC Championship game when he was with the Titans. I know Pete was there with me, Damien, and I have a photo of you that I can't share with TV. If that gives you any indication as to what.
I can only imagine.
I'll show it to you in the break, Pete. But as you mentioned, with just that whole belief that this team had, and it starts with Vrabel. We even heard Stephon Diggs talk about him as a coach, and just that our coach believed in us. It made such a big difference for them. Damien, as a player, when you've got a coach like that, what does it do for a team?
Well, it just instills a ton of confidence, and it makes you believe, and it makes you want to go out there and fight even harder. I mean, Stephon Diggs said it best. When you've got a guy that believes in you, maybe a little bit more than you believe in yourself, maybe a little bit more than us, experts who sit up here and talk about the game for a living. When your coach has more belief than anybody else outside of the locker room, that just makes the locker room get tighter. You see the post-game hugs that Mike Vrabel gives to every single player on the way into the locker room. You see the celebrations whenever somebody scores a touchdown. Mike Vrabel is right up there. He gives just that relational piece that I think is missing sometimes when you got great coaches, you got great players, but at the end of the day, sometimes it just doesn't work out because that relational piece is missing. And what Mike Vrabel brings to the table, I can guarantee you this, the X's and O's, they're there because he comes from the Bill Belichick tree, essentially, because he played for him. The situational football aspect of it, it's still going to be there because, again, Mike has played in some of the biggest situations that you can imagine, but it's the relational piece. It's the relatability from whether it's quarterback Drake Maye, whether it's 32-year-old Stephon Diggs, he finds a way to relate to each and every individual player, and somehow, some way, he extracts the best version out of every single player in that Patriots organization. And I'm just sitting here questioning to myself, how the hell, Pete Prisco, did the Tennessee Titans let this guy go?
Yeah, and look, looking back on it, it was probably a major mistake on their part. Look, Mike Vrabel is a former player who was a tough, hard-nosed football player. As a coach, he's a tough, hard-nosed coach. But we know players. You can relate to them in different ways. And Damien, you were in locker rooms, there are guys that work their butts off, play hard, play tough, but you can relate to them. I think that's what Mike Vrabel is. He understands the modern player. He understands what it takes, but he's also not afraid to push that player and push back when things aren't going his way. So I think it's the perfect mix of former player who has developed into one hell of a coach who also can still relate to the modern player.
And I like what he said.
Can I say this? Yeah, jump in. Can I say this real quick, Tiffany? Because Pete makes a really great point. And I think that whenever you see coaching situations where it's like they have that relatability and they're really big on building their players up and they show a lot of love, well, then they're afraid to criticize them and then get on their backs and tell them about themselves when they don't play well or if they're not doing a good enough job to get as much playing time as they want. Or it's vice versa. You have a coach who's very big on the details and fixing and correcting and, sitting in the film rooms and being like, okay, this is not what we do, but then they don't build the players up and then they don't show them the love love in the same regard. That's what makes Mike Vrabel so great. He's not afraid to love on these players as much as they need, but he's not afraid to critique these players as much as they need. And that, I can tell you from being in the locker room, that earns you respect above anything else.
Yeah, when you're loving your guys up, then you can go in and tell them, hey, this is what you need to change. Let me quote Vrabel. That we heard him earlier when he said, you have to believe things sometimes before you can see them. So I'm going to ask you first, Damien, then. You can't see it yet, maybe, I don't know, but how confident are you in the Patriots' confidence to try to win the Super Bowl?
Man, I couldn't be more confident in somebody else's confidence. And the reason why it starts with Mike Vrabel, and as happy as everybody is going to be about the fact that, you know, the New England Patriots, the drought is over. They're back to the Super Bowl. Drake Maye, they found their guy. Mike Vrabel knows this is another opportunity to go out and win a football game. And if you do that, then guess what? You get to celebrate until next season. But until that happens, this is still business as business being done. Like Milton Williams said yesterday, if you miss the team playing at 8 a.m., there's no curfew. If you miss the team playing, you're not playing in the Super Bowl. There will be 0 snaps. He'll probably try to take that playoff bonus from you. But that type of mindset, that type of mentality about this is business is being done. We have another opportunity as a football team to come together and go out and put our best foot forward and try to win a championship. But we're not going to do that by winning a championship. We're going to do that by winning another football game. That type of mentality, that type of assurance, that's going to give the Patriots a lot of confidence against a very tough Seattle Seahawks team.
I wouldn't expect anything else from Mike Vrabel or his team or any other team, but quite frankly. I think you have to have confidence in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, you don't believe in your team, who does? And so sometimes I said this many a time to many a coach, or afraid of saying bulletin board material. Who cares? If you believe in your team, then say it, put it out there. And I think Mike Vrabel put it out there. He believes in his group. They're a confident group, and we'll see.
That's all that matters. I'm going to get you guys to sit tight. We had some great insight, but we'll hear more from you in just a bit. A look at the Patriots' odds to win the Super Bowl, and it looks like, though, the Seahawks are the favorite, and the favorite by 4.5.